Welcome to the Real Estate Real Success Spotlight Series. Today, I'm excited to introduce Brad Miller and Kieran McCourt, leaders of the Goodale Miller Team, the #1 team in all of Century 21 for 2023. This marks the 4th consecutive year they have won this coveted award. Brad, Kieran, and the Goodale Miller Team are based out of Oakville, Ontario, and are with Century 21 Miller Real Estate. Today, they share their invaluable advice for achieving business success. Brad, you are #1 again. How many years is this now, and were you surprised to see it?
A little bit surprised, yeah. I guess for Canada, I don't know, I think it's 20 something years, which is great. The US is the 4th consecutive year. This one I was surprised. I mean, Q3 and Q4 of 23 were tough years for us personally in real estate. And I know not just us, but pretty much all Canadians in real estate with the increased interest rates, obviously, that played a role. And I think a lot of buyers sat on sidelines for Q3 and Q4. And so I was surprised. I didn't think we would achieve it based on the, decline of sales that we had as a team in those 2 quarters.
So, what did you find yourself doing differently? Did you just think it's going to be slow, we've got to ride it out? Or did you make changes in your business that had
No
some
real
impact?
changes. I mean, here's the reality. I've been at this for 27 years and I've learned that there's ebbs and flows. There's always going to be ebbs and flows. Anytime there is a substantial change to the marketplace by external forces, right? Whether it was global economic meltdown in the United States, whether it was the foreign buyers ban, originally it was the foreign buyers tax, that took the knees out of the market. And then it was foreign buyers ban. Then it was, COVID obviously playing a big role. I mean, our markets have been pure chaos in the last few years. So I know that our marketing systems all work. I know that our people are super talented. When there's bad markets, there's not a whole lot you can do. I actually had a client describe it to me as trying to get a suntan in a rainstorm. And I thought that was kind of appropriate. But in the end, I just know that, look, ride it out. Everything that we have is cyclical. It usually takes 3 or 4 months for the news to take effect, and then the new norm settles in. And we've already experienced that in January and February of this year. They've been fantastic, quite frankly, better than most January and Februarys we've had in previous years that would be considered good years, not affected by interest rate hikes. So the honest truth is, when things get a little bit slow, I know that I should take time for myself, enjoy it, because when things are slow, I can't force things to happen. But when things are busy, I got to be in the office. I got to be working.
You said, your marketing plans are strong and your marketing systems are strong. Did you just keep doing the same old with a slow market, or did you find you had to tweak things to attract a different kind of buyer?
No, we didn't have to tweak things because, we've been formulating this marketing plan and evolving it and nuancing it every year. Like there's always minor tweaks going on in good markets and bad markets. We go to meetings, we go to seminars, we, follow influencers on Instagram, we learn something new, we apply it right away. So the marketing plan always works. But the biggest change, I guess, was managing client expectations. We deal in a luxury market here in Oakville, and the sellers got used to things happening really quickly when COVID came around. Properties that in previous markets would take, 5, 7, 8, 9 months to sell were all of a sudden selling in 2 weeks. And so what's happened with COVID and then post-COVID and interest rate hikes, our market has been in a state of flux. The flux is happening so quickly. I mean, it used to be in our market in one calendar year, we'd see, 5% or 6% growth year over year. Now we were getting into 8 and 9 to 10% growth in 1 month. And then when interest rates start hitting, 3, 4% pullbacks in a month. Our market was in a massive state of flux. And so the biggest thing we had to do was reset people's expectations about what's considered a normal amount of time on the market. And we also had to do it with buyers and buyers agents, right? They'd come in and they'd say, oh, you've been on the market for 90 days and haven't sold, must be something wrong or it's overpriced. no, let's reset your expectations too, right? Let's take these external influences on our market and set them aside and just look at this thing a little bit more logically and historically.
You said January and February have been busy. Is that much more back to what you would typically expect in a typical market, or have things started to get busy again?
Well, interestingly enough, at any, September, October, November of any calendar year previous to this one, normally if you'd ask me, when does your spring market start in your marketplace? I always say, the first real start is kind of February 1. We don't wait till the flowers start blooming. Our market starts a little bit early. Like there's kind of like a pre-spring market, and then it just keeps escalating and escalating into like the full-blown spring market. But this year, I think what happened was a lot of people chose to sit on the fence in Q3 and Q4 because, look, interest rates were coming down. The messaging from the government was we're going to keep, interest rates were going up. So prices were coming down. And the messaging from the government was we're going to stay the course. We may even continue to increase rates. Well, in that perspective, a lot of the buyers who want to time the market, well, they sat on the fence. But here's the thing. Real estate, people buy and sell real estate for reasons mostly not to do with timing the market. Families getting bigger, families getting smaller, death, divorce, corporate relocation, personal lifestyle changes, you name it. These are all the reasons that people buy and sell real estate, and those never went away. So some people, if they had the ability to sit on the sidelines, they would for a little while to see just where the market's going to settle, but eventually they got to come back into the market. So here we go through, and I think what happened as well, I know what happened as well, is that in Q3, Q4, sellers got the message, hey, some of these prices that we were asking, we're not going to achieve them because of the change in market. And so sellers started reducing their prices. Well, guess what? As soon as that happened, the buyers saw the value, they jumped right back into the market. And so we've actually had a super strong ultra luxury market in January and February, selling a ton of really expensive homes, like, $5, $6, $8 million homes in a time period that we don't typically sell them.
Interesting. Do
I
you
thought
think
so
that
too.
expectations from sellers are getting out of whack again, like they were in the heat of things?
What's interesting is in the heat of things, even the sellers as well as the agents, I mean, we could not predict how quickly the market was changing. I mean, we'd just put properties for sale and we could almost put it at any price and then the market would just drive it up. I mean, to a large degree during the height of COVID, the strategy was underprice and let the market decide. Sellers are very pragmatic. They're super educated. Obviously, our job as realtors is, educate and inform, help people make good financial decisions. And if we're doing our job right, we have to describe all those nuances. We have to talk about the fact that the market has changed and where we see it has been and where we see it going. And if we do that well, we can set their expectations. But it's not easy. I mean, sometimes they look at properties that sold 3 months ago and say, well, that was only 3 months ago. I want that number. It's hard to accept that the market has moved down so much in such a short period of time. But what I always do, Lee, is I always, I ask them to take their seller's hat off and put on their buyer's hat. Or sorry, let me rephrase that. What I'll often do is I'll ask them to look at the market from the opposite direction, which is, if you're a seller and you were in COVID and I told you your home is worth, 2.8 million, we put it on the market and all of a sudden we got 3.1 because the market had changed, you would easily accept that. And everybody agrees. So, we have to tell them, look, if it's changed the opposite direction, we also have to accept that, right? It's just that the changes have been so rapid. It's been hard to keep your finger on the pulse of it. There's no doubt. It's probably been some of the most challenging times in my entire career of being a realtor.
Wow. Do you find buyers and sellers are currently listening,
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean,
but actually hearing what you're saying, not
yeah,
you just
I know where you're
saying
going
this,
with that. I think
but
of all
getting it?
industries, ours is an industry where sometimes I think people know as much as we do because there's so much care and interest in housing. And of course, every house is different, and there is no exact set of rules that says that this is market value. As a matter of fact, I tell anybody that will listen, I said, look, there's no realtor that can tell you exactly what your home's worth. We can tell you really close to what it's worth, but until we get it onto the market, we don't know. I mean, houses will sell on a Monday for 2% more than they would have on a Wednesday. And on Friday, they might sell for 3% less. Like markets can move that much. depending on, multiple offers, or maybe it's a super motivated buyer or a super motivated seller. So again, if we do our job well, we educate, we inform, we help people make good educated decisions. And I do find that most people that contact us, they understand that they're looking for that professional advice, and they're willing to listen to it.
What are you comfortable talking about what you expect for the balance of this year? It's a little bit of speculation and I don't want to put you in a spot
Yeah,
where you're
no,
going to
I
be held
personally,
to that.
I think it's a great question, and I'll tell you the reason why. And I've been talking about that a fair bit lately, and that is that I have always been very comfortable forecasting at least 6 months in the future. I'm very comfortable that this is going to be what happens. With the amount of change and flux, I'm not as comfortable. I mean, we used to look at 4 and 5 and 6 month trends to find out which way the market was going. In the height of COVID, we were looking at it almost daily, but certainly weekly. But right now, we're looking at it monthly. We expect the market to change that much month over month. So I don't like forecasting too much, other than I'll say this. I am very bullish on real estate moving forward in our area, Oakville, Golden Horseshoe, GTA, Greater Toronto area. And I know a lot of realtors, hey, how's the market? Great, right? Like that's a kind of a typical response. I'm not that guy at all. I'm an extreme pragmatist, if anything, but I'm very bullish. And I will actually kind of oversimplify it when I'm talking to people about why. And I always just start with, like, where's Canada globally in terms of desirability? Is it getting more desirable or less desirable? And the answer is more. And then I look at the GTA in Toronto and I say, well, same question for Toronto. And the answer is more. If you look at the projections for Toronto for population growth for the next decade to 20 years, it's substantial. All those people are going to need homes. And then you look at, the community that we operate primarily out of, which is Oakville, which is this bedroom community, rivers and harbor access to the Lake Ontario, and this quaint downtown, and big lots and big trees, and the economic engine that drives Canada just 25 to 40 minutes away depending on traffic. Is Oakville getting more desirable or less desirable? And the answer is simply more. We do have a housing crisis. There's no doubt that the Band-Aid solutions that we're putting out there right now to solve the housing crisis are nowhere near going to solve the housing crisis. Demand is going to outpace supply for a long time coming. So again, bullish. I'm bullish on real estate. It's real estate has always been like this. There's a lot of up. There's always a little bit of down along the way, but those downs are small and short-lived, generally speaking, and they're usually caused by some sort of external influence, interest rates being probably the largest one. And then all of a sudden, once those are resolved, the real estate market starts booming again.
Okay. What advice do you have for new agents coming into the industry? Because there are still a lot of agents, and it's a hard business that lots of people don't understand when they first get in.
Yeah. Another really good question. So I tell new agents the same thing. Actually, I tell new agents and I tell experienced agents the same thing a lot. And actually, this probably ties in well with the fact that, we're obviously celebrating being the #1 team in the world. So a lot of agents will look at us and they'll look at me, or they'll look at my business partner, Kieran. They'll say, like, boy, these guys have it made. Like, they've got this great brand. They've got this great team. They seem to be selling houses all the time. And, reputation is super strong. Like, they've got it made. And so I always stop them and I say, I know you're relatively new in this business. You've probably had some success, and then you've had periods of no sales, and you probably have a feeling in your stomach that comes quite frequently. The one where you think, oh my God, am I going to make it? Am I going to have another deal? Where's my next deal going to come from? I just did 2 deals, but now I've got nothing in my pipeline. I said, you know that feeling? They all say yes. I say, I have that feeling every single day. It never goes away. It doesn't matter how successful you are. We're in commission sales. That feeling doesn't go away. I said, what you need to do is you need to compartmentalize it. You can't let it control you. You have to just accept it and say, okay, well, I'm going to have that feeling. But if you do the things that you need to do to be a successful agent, and again, oversimplifying it, how many people have you talked to in a given day that have real estate needs? I know a lot of people like to spend time working on their Instagram, working on their website, and those things are all really important, but nowhere near as important as Did you talk to 5 or 6 or maybe even 10 people that need to talk about real estate? If you do that every day, the results will come, right? But that feeling of, will they come? Will I have money to pay for my mortgage? That just doesn't go away.
Yep.
So compartmentalize it, ignore it, focus on what you can do.
Okay. I want to ask you a little bit about Century 21 and being with the brand. How do you think that has helped you through the years with your business? Because you're number one in the world. How does that nugget and also a global brand back you up?
Yeah. So, I came into this business with a father who's a broker. I guess geez, how many years is he now? He's over 40 years as a Century
Over
21 broker,
40,
right?
45 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I think was the greatest benefit to that was that he took me to chairman's circle meetings, which for those that don't know are sort of the top brokerages across the country get together and have meetings. You meet with corporate, you get to meet with some of the best speakers and industry shakers and movers in the real estate world, but you meet with them in a small room. You get to sit beside them for dinner and talk. People like Jack Miller, our CTO, I think is one of the smartest people I've ever met in real estate. I mean, the guy's just a wealth of knowledge and a hell of a nice guy. And so by virtue of that and consistently learning, I would go to those meetings and I would, probably have 2 or 3 days worth of information. I'd come back with 2 or 3 nuggets and we'd implement that into our business. And that allowed us to grow that and mentorship. I still credit to this day a lot of the Century 21 brokers who are still brokers like my dad, the Pam Kiliuses, the Vitos, the Claire Fultons, um, Stephen Chow, Paul Barron. These are powerful brokers with big businesses who, before I was ever a good agent, or quite frankly, I was completely green, but before I ever established myself as an award winner or anything like that, they opened their doors to me and they would take me in for a half day. They would share their materials. They would essentially guide me and help me and educate me about things that I didn't know about. And I've appreciated that from day one, and it still happens today. And I actually mentor quite a few people as a result. And a lot of those brokers will call me and say, "Hey, I've got some people in my office that are forming a team or who've been working on a team and they've reached this level and they're trying to get this level. Will you talk to them?" And the answer is always yes. I mean, I'm not where I am today without the help of the Century 21 brokers and corporate along the way. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about
Uh, what do you love about real estate?
it. Well, it's funny. The longer in the tooth you get in this business, the more sometimes you find things to dislike about it,
Yeah, I
right?
was
You,
gonna
you
say,
get you get
hey,
worn
let's talk
down.
about the love. Yeah.
I'll say this too. The reality is this business has been more stressful in the last 5 or 6 years than it's ever been for all of us. This rapid change in marketplaces has been tough. It's been tough to navigate. So for those that are out there trying to navigate it, there again, it's just accept that and know that it will get easier. I hope. It never really gets easier either, right? No matter how much business you have and how much you grow your business, it's still a difficult business. However, I mean, there's a freedom to real estate. Every time I start thinking maybe the grass is greener, I think about people that don't have the ability to manage their lives the way I do. Um, Obviously, there's the income, you put more into it, you can make more. But that's probably not the biggest part. The biggest part is the ability to pick and choose when you show up to the office, pick and choose when you take holidays. That's really significant. I do think there's a pride of ownership in terms of having created something that's great. And then from the client perspective, I mean, so many of our clients have evolved from client to friend. And, we've helped each other along the way, both personally and financially. And I really get a tremendous amount of enjoyment about helping people create a better financial position for themselves through our advice. And those that have benefited from that appreciate it as well. And so that's a really nice personal relationship that we've been able to create with a lot of our clients. I mean, I would probably hazard a guess that 50% of my friends these days, clients at one point and became friends.
That's a pretty great answer.
Yeah, thanks.
Number one in the world again. What was your reaction when you heard?
I think we're a little surprised. Admittedly, last year was a challenging year, probably for everyone, so not just for us. It was it was a little bit of a surprise, but a positive bit of positive news. And I think we go into every single year just hoping that the outcome is going to be positive for everyone. I don't know if we ever really focus on being number one. It's just we try to focus on doing a good job for our clients, and we have a great, amazing team. And at the end of the year, if we get those accolades, it's a huge bonus.
Absolutely. What does it mean to be recognized on the global stage with Century 21? Does that give you like added value, or do is a Canadian recognition more important?
I will say, like, the one thing that's nice, I do try to venture out and travel as much as I can when I have the downtime. So what I will say is actually really amazing whenever I travel is everywhere you go, you end up seeing a Century 21 office somewhere in the world. And it doesn't matter if you're in the middle of Europe. I was in Mexico. I was in, I'm doing a little trip to Dublin for St. Patrick's Day, which I'm really excited about. And I will guarantee there's Century 21 offices everywhere. So the fact that we are recognized as number one team globally is amazing because it really is such a widespread brand, and it's well known across the world. So it's definitely an honor. And like I said, it's Oakville's a small little town, and I will admit sometimes when we leave the little bubble of Oakville, it's amazing to see just how broad the marketing and the brand is.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you said last year was a bit tricky, and Brad talked about Q3 and Q4 in particular being tricky.
Couple of dogs.
How did you navigate it in the moment? What were you telling yourself? What were you doing to change things or not change things and just ride them out?
Yeah, I will say, I've been in the business, like Brad's been in a little bit longer than I have. I think I started about 20 years ago or so. Brad's maybe 25 years. And when I first got in the business, Don was an amazing mentor. So Goodale and the Goodale Miller team, Don was the guy I've known for many, many years. And he taught me a lot about the business and taught me a lot about just even the overall mindset, things to focus on. And I think last year when things got a little bit slower, you just try to keep the camaraderie of the team together and the positive attitude. And we all know that it will change. We've been through some ups and downs in the market over the last 20 years. And I don't think it's, we will see some peaks and we'll see some valleys, and it's going to happen again. I think the thing that Brad and I focused on was trying to keep that camaraderie, keeping the positive attitude, and just keeping at the day-to-day activities of keeping people educated, keeping people in contact with their sphere. We still went on status quo with business, full Christmas party. We have a client appreciation event that we have put on in the last couple of years. Same thing. We just stuck with it and just maintained that relationship with our clients and, of course, our team. So we have a pretty close-knit team, and we have very little turnover, and we are truly like a family. And I think we just tried to keep that positive attitude amongst the team.
Tell me a little bit about the makeup of your team.
What makes our team unique? Here's what I'm going to say. Like, we are truly a family. I will say that confidently. We have 3 full-time admin. We have, I did count it the other day. We have, including the admin, we do have 16 people that are licensed. And I would say of the 16, we have a consistent 12 to 13 that practice on the daily basis. We have very little turnover. I don't think we've seen anybody leave in years. And if they do leave, it's usually for other reasons other than being unhappy with the team, knock on wood. It's always maybe personal reasons or relocating. And I think the kind of glue of our team really is that we've grown up together. I mean, Brad, I've known since I'm 45 now. I've known Brad since I was 20 years old. And you go down the list of people like Ryan, Murray, Bronwyn, Kathy, Andrew, like we really do kind of go through the ups and downs together. And we always share the same sentiment of our goals. And that is to do the best thing for our clients, which is our kind of, I guess, our guiding principles. And I think because of that, we just have an amazing relationship.
How have things changed in 2024 for you? Did you change anything because of a slow Q3 and Q4? How has the year started off for you?
On the positive news, the beginning of 2024 has actually been a really strong start. I think there's a bit more buyer confidence across the board, which is a huge plus, and that's at all different segments and price points. I would say at the end of 23, we had a lot of brainstorming of ideas of what we could do better. Obviously, the evolving world of social media has been a big target that we're trying to work with. We have, well, in our market, I guess I would say it's a smaller market where we have a really solid client base, and the client base is a repeat referral, and it's been that for years. And so what's happening now is, since Oakville's kind of landed on the map as a destination to be if you're looking for a safe neighborhood, proximate to Toronto, excellent schools, we're getting a lot of people that are coming from Toronto centric. They're coming from Canada wide. They're coming from Vancouver, BC, and they're coming from overseas. So we've tried to evolve our marketing beyond that small little niche segment of marketing to a small clientele, to really just trying to reach the broad spectrum. And I think that is achieved with social media. So we invest a lot of time, energy, and money into some great equipment, which is a huge bonus, and just trying to brainstorm ideas to get our salespeople in front of the camera. We have one person, for example, Brahman, who's really, really strong at video, and she's done a lot of deals over the years just with clients that have randomly reached out and saying, hey, I saw you on video, and I think your material is really interesting, and it's value added, and it's not just your typical, real estate video of a walkthrough. There's some knowledge and obviously some education that we can gain from that. So I think that's, if we had an underlying goal when we're talking about our social media presence, it is that added value. And so I would encourage that across the board for our team, and we can all find our way, and it may be a little bit different per person, but I think just being relevant and being in front of the camera is the way of the future right now.
Absolutely. What do you love about real estate?
What do I love about real estate? I would say, so once again, I'll go back to from day one of getting into real estate. I went to school, of all things, I went to school for accounting, and I got this opportunity 20 years ago to get into the business. And I will say, when I got into the business, I really wasn't sure what I was going to get into. And I just started kind of boots on the ground, working really hard, putting a lot of hours, making a lot of contacts. One thing I will say that I love about real estate is the amount of friends that I've made along the way, the amount of long-term relationships that I've made, not just from clients and fellow realtors, but these have been friends of mine for 20 years. And I get to see families evolve. I get to see people growing. I get to see just kind of, or even just putting together the pieces of the puzzle that people need in order to help their life moving forward. So that is what I do truly love about real estate.
Right. What are your goals that you want to share for 2024?
Our goals for 2024, I keep saying it, more video for social media. That is like an absolute must. We're taking this little video chat right now, and we create a social media room, and we have some additional things that we're incorporating into the social media room. And that would be, in my opinion, that's our number one thing to do right now. It's gonna continue growth. Like I said, we have an amazing repeat referral, but it's like, how do you get that new client into your wheelhouse or into your database? And I'm talking about a long-term client, a long-term relationship. I'm not talking about a sign call or a person that just randomly emails you. I'm talking about someone that's had that ability to almost get to know you in front of the camera, and now they're making a bit more of a warm call as opposed to a cold call.
What else would you like people to know?
I think the only thing I would probably add is, like, once I talked about a little bit, but just really how amazing our team is. Like, we have such an amazing cohesion. Brad is we've all got our things that we're really good at, and some things that maybe we're not amazing at. And I think the nice thing about the team is everyone's open to having those dialogues and having those conversations, and we have people that can fill the void if we need it. And Brad's been an amazing partner in my business. Don was an amazing mentor, and I think everyone that works with us are in the same page of growth and doing the right thing for people. And and I hope to be number one for many years to come.
Awesome. Our fingers are crossed for you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Kieran.